What's up, everybody? This is NBA at the Bar. We're your co-host. I'm TA.
And this GMoney.
And we're here to talk about some NBA basketball.
Indeed.
Before we get started, I want to give a quick shout out to Big Shaq, who came through last week.
Yeah, Shaq Daddy did it.
I was out of town. He stepped up with G-Money, and y'all absolutely killed it. I got to give you some props.
Oh, okay, yeah,
man.
Hey, man, my man, he had a lot of knowledge, and I give it to him. Man.
Without a doubt.
He did his thing.
We got to get him back. We got to get him back.
Yeah, for sure.
So Shaq Daddy will be back for all of y'all that are, you know what I'm saying, screaming and loving Shaq Daddy. He's going to be back at some point in time, probably very, very soon, just because he did such a tremendous job. But also, we're being brought to you by ATB Media Network.
We all we got.
We all we got. So crazy. Hey, it's been a great week of basketball, but before we get started talking this ball, what are you drinking on today?
All right, man. I don't even know how to say it, but I will say it's a single malt. It's not a blended.
No blended.
I've upgraded, ladies and gentlemen. I've upgraded to the single malt. I can't believe it. It's called. Let me look at the ball. Shieldad.
Hey.
Shieldad. But it's a single malt, and you know what? This bad boy is delicious.
It's delicious because it's smooth. It's actually award winning as well.
Oh.
And I'm drinking on some stuff called some ABK6. AKB6.
See, now that's how you know we've been drinking so much, man. We got to figure out what the hell we drinking today because we love these drinks. So,
well, I'll tell you what. I took this on vacation last week, and that ABK6 is so silky smooth. I absolutely love it. So I had to get it back for the show today. For all of you, before we get started, do me a favor. Quickly, please. Like, subscribe, download.
Yes, sir.
For us. Like, subscribe, download.
Yes,
because
ma'am.
You know we give you all the business every single week, no matter what, every single week throughout the season. So, G-Money, you ready to get started?
Oh, I'm ready. I've been born ready, but I'm certainly ready now. But I got this single on me.
You got this single on you.
There it is.
Speaking of singles, first thing I want to talk about is this in-game tournament. And now we're getting into single elimination. So tell me, what do you think about this in-game tournament now that we've gotten through the first round, which is like they play 4 games, and then whoever has the best record and the best point differential gets to move to the next round? What's your thoughts on the in-game?
Man, I got to give a slow clap to David Stern or man.
David Stern?
I mean,
you going way back?
Yeah,
David Stern?
Who's the commissioner now?
Paul Tagliabue. No, I'm just joking.
No, okay. So I can't think of the brother's name.
Yeah,
what is his name?
I don't even know why you brought up his name.
Well, the commissioner. We'll just say the commissioner.
Give him a shout out.
We'll give him a shout out because I was very skeptical of the in-game tournament, just generally. I was just like, oh, man, it's a gimmick. You know, you've heard from past episodes. This is what I've said. But it's exciting. Mm-hmm. I love the courts. I love the newness of the importance, the changes of the uniform. Everything looks like, oh, we playing for something. You know, just like we said, we playing for Twinkies. But they playing for $500,000.
Which
so,
you think these big salaries, you think $500,000 doesn't mean anything, but unequivocally it does, because everybody doesn't make those big contracts. Only just the very best of the team. So those $500,000 matters. So yeah, I definitely agree. But what I found in this in-game tournament is just the resonance of energy and urgency that they have when they're playing. We see it. We saw it. We talked about it. I believe week before last. We talked about how it was a little bit gritty in there. It was a little bit contentious. Mm-hmm. And because these players care. Mm-hmm. And so now that we've gotten out of that knockout round, not the knockout round.
The
4-game section. Now we're into the knockout round. Now we sit over here and have 8 teams left. And what I love about it is not just the best 4 teams from each conference, the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference. You actually have some middling teams that are sitting over here and fighting for something. They're fighting for wins.
Yes.
And so you have teams like the Pelicans. You have teams like the Pacers. You have teams like the Lakers. You have teams like the Kings that are fighting to get into this tournament, and they've got there now. So now, what do you think about that? And how do you think those lower level teams are going to perform?
I agree. Everything you're hitting on all the points. Look, at the end of the day, you know, we have very interesting matchups. You got the Lakers going against the Suns, you know, and then you have, which I think, as much as a Laker fan as I am, I mean, evidenced by my attire, you know, of course, I want us to beat the Suns and boot bop them. But, you know, that's an interesting matchup. But then you got to flip that, and you got to say, okay, let's look at the rest of the lineup. Okay, you have the Kings. The Kings are going against
The Pelicans.
The Pelicans. I don't even know who I really even want to pick in that one. That to me is like a pick 'em because the Pelicans, provided that they stay healthy, they are really formidable. The Kings, we already know. Okay,
De'Aaron Fox is a monster.
He is, and Sabonis and Monk and all of that. They are a very interesting matchup, and I'm really excited about it. So then you go east, right? So then you have Milwaukee going against the Knicks. I just like the grit of New York. New York, stand up! New York, stand up! I actually think that they might be somebody. And then you have Pacers and Celtics. To me, that's the easy button. You know the Celtics are going to advance. But who knows? Maybe Halliburton can give them something and make a show of it. But for the most part, I think that they will advance. It's just that Milwaukee Knicks, that's interesting to me.
Well, when I look at that, starting with the West, when you have the Pelicans against Sacramento, I don't quite see that being as a formidable contest. I think Sacramento is going to handle them. Remember, this is just one game. This isn't multiple games like the playoffs. This is just one game. And I think if you have just one game and you have a monster like Fox that can sit over here and win the game for you, I don't quite know if the Pelicans have really brought together, like they're forming as a team that can propel themselves. I don't know if they're quite there yet this early in the season. So I actually think they can be taken out. Now, when in terms of the New York Knicks against the Bucks,
I mean, it's a long shot.
It's a long shot, but the Bucks aren't playing phenomenal. They haven't reached their peak or their climax yet. So I feel you. The Knicks can make that a gritty game, especially in a one-game series. And here's what the thing is: the Pacers score so much at a high level that the reality is that if they're hot and Celtics aren't, then they can beat them in a one-game series. But here's what the thing is with the Lakers. You got to understand that LeBron, and you know how LeBron is. LeBron is always sitting over here trying to make it to try to create some differentials between him and Kobe, him and MJ. And for him, just like you saw in those 4 games, he played, or those 4 games, they lost one, but he played like a monster. And so he wants to sit over here and be the player that wins that first NBA in-season cup.
Yeah, so it will be let's say, what do you call it? A feather in his cap?
A feather in his cap. So you can expect LeBron to go berserk. And obviously, you and I being Laker fans, we hope that to be
he better.
Case. Now, the team is not phenomenal, but LeBron, like he's done his entire 20-year career, he can put a team on his back and go. And when you only have to do that for one game, not for a 7-game series,
right. And then they're getting healthy at the right time because, you have Vanderbilt finally coming back. I think they even play Houston today. So it's like they will be, let's say, what they intended to be at the beginning of the season, maybe for the first time of the season in that game against the Suns. So it'll be interesting to see for sure. I have to also just say, I'm not just saying wolf tickets with the Knicks, right? I think Randall, I think Robinson, and I think Brunson, in particular, those 3 guys are playing in a rhythm. Yes, they have heart. Yes, they got all of their other faculties on that team. But that team is playing real efficient, and they could mess around and upset Milwaukee. Now, if the Greek Freak decides that I'm going to be Freak of the Week that day, well then,
and don't forget about Dame.
Yeah,
don't forget about Dame
and Dame Dollar. Yeah, if Dame Dollar just starts to say, "Oh, it's going to be Dame time," it's going to be a problem. But I could see them as a dark horse.
Well, my thing is that I want to say that the Pacers can be a dark horse, but their defense is so abysmal. I don't think that the defense, even if they happen to get past this first round of the knockout round and get past the Celtics, I don't think that their defense can hold when it comes to a grinded out game. And as we get further and further along in the tournament, these games are going to become more hard fought, more contentious, and I just don't know if they have the gumption, the cojones to sit over here and pull it out. Are they going to score? Is the game going to be fun? Unequivocally. But if they score 145 and they allow the other team to score 147, they're going to lose. So I just don't know they have enough to get there, but I know from an offensive standpoint, the offensive prowess of the Pacers is unlike that we've seen. I mean, they've kind of broken some records in the beginning of the season. These cats can score.
Yeah, no doubt. I just, at the end of the day, I just think that when you're talking about Tatum and Brown and company, they ain't gonna mess around. And I just think they're gonna smack them and just say, you guys aren't ready, and they're gonna smack them. Bottom line, that's what I think is gonna happen. Now, if it doesn't happen that way, because you don't know until the game is played. But if I'm gonna go G-Damas on us, that's what I expect. And if it doesn't happen, we're gonna have something to talk about.
Now, speaking of expectation, we obviously expect the Bucks and the Celtics to move past this first round of knockout and move to the basically the final of the Eastern Conference in this tournament. I do believe that if that takes place, we're looking at we're having
a preview, right?
A prognostication on how great that series is going to be. So imagine into playing and basically like a game 7 to get to the championship, to get to the $500,000, and you have those two going at it and literally fighting tooth and nail at this stage of the season. I'm super excited for that game.
It could happen, and the only thing that I would say is I just hope the Knicks can be the fly in the ointment to just disrupt that. But, in all likelihood, that's probably going to be the outcome. It's going to be those two teams. And you're right. It will be a great preview. It'll be good popcorn television. Like, okay, well, shoot, let me break out my, my sweet and salty and my cheese popcorn and mix that up and go ahead and watch that bad boy, because it's probably going to be really good.
Well, the grittiness of the Knicks could, like you said, put a fly in that ointment, but we definitely are going to see. Now, I've got to talk to you about a team that, has been a team that we love because we come in from the West Coast, but a team that, in my opinion, just doesn't quite look the same. What's up with Golden State? What's up with Golden State? Has the game passed them by, or are they no longer relevant to be able to compete at the highest levels, especially when in a tough Western Conference?
Yeah, man, it feels like King Arthur and Camelot. It just feels like, are we now end of an era? And and I think they're on end of an era alert. Because Steph is there, they're always going to be relevant and they're always going to be dangerous. But, they just lost two. The reason why they're not even in the tournament is because they lost on a heartbreaker to Sacramento. And, I got to get a shout out to Malik Monk because he hit that damn shot.
He did.
And but the thing, and they just lost to the Clippers, I think today even. They lost to the Clippers by 1 point. But the thing that you have to say about them is that there's so much inconsistency where you talk about Moody or Kuminga or
Looney.
It's just kind of like, man, y'all are vulnerable now. And I think that this could be an end of an era. It's hard to say that when you have Steph Curry on your team, because they have been the model of, I'm going to whip your ass from outside, but he needs some of these boys to come with him, and they really not. They're not.
The reason why is because they're getting old. The team as a whole is getting old. They didn't make themselves really younger this offseason. They added CP3. I mean, they got older.
And we all know CP3 is he's like AD. He going to pull an owie every third or fourth game.
No, write it down and take a picture. Yes.
Man. So, and of course, he was like, oh, my calf. Now, granted, I understand this is what happens with professional athletes, but bro, you're always broken.
Yes, he's always broken. So I think the game has passed them by. I think what they need to do is they need to understand that even though what it seems like what they're trying to do is because this is Thompson's contract year, that they're trying to squeeze the most out of him and trying to get him to the
he hasn't recovered from that injury.
He hasn't recovered to the level. Well, what he can do is the shooting. Because it didn't hurt his elbow, it didn't hurt his shoulder, it didn't hurt his wrist, it didn't hurt his hand. What he did is he hurt his Achilles. So, yes, he can't move as quickly, but he can still shoot. But then that drops him down from being a person that needs to be playing 33 minutes a game.
Yeah.
I mean, he's playing 30-plus minutes a game, and he can't hold up defensively like he once could, or once when he was younger, or
injury.
Pre-injury. And so
yeah.
He's not the same player. And so it seems like the coach is sitting over here and trying to hold on to the yesteryear, trying to be nostalgic and saying, this is a team that I can win because they have the experience. They know what winning is, but what they don't have is those young, lively legs. And if you don't have those young, lively legs in this league, because as we're going to talk about a little bit later, they have some young monsters out here.
Correct.
That the old cats, especially coming off injury, can't compete with. And so you have Curry, but Curry's getting older. How long, can his body, his frail body last and hold up for 82 games?
He's almost in this, like, what I almost call it like a Kobe era, to where this is the first time, because Kobe we've seen for years on years as Laker fans, to where Kobe would drag some marginal talent along with him, and he just said, "From my cold dead hand, we're going to lose this game." He would drag them. So this is what I see that is happening with Curry, is that he's having to drag this team along. And when you talk about Thompson, when you have a leg injury, that as a basketball player, that does affect your shot, because you have to have a certain amount of spring in your legs. You have to elevate to a certain level. You can release the ball at the same point, but if you're not getting the same jump and height, and when you talk about fatigue and you got scar tissue in there and whatever else, if you can't do that at a consistent level, then your shot is altered.
And he's just not scoring in the same capacity.
Right.
He just
it's
had
not
his
about
second
him not knowing how to do it
for the season, and we're 20 games in.
Right.
And so that's where the greatest concern is. And then Draymond ain't getting younger. He's over here old and gruffy, and all he wants to do is wrestle with motherfuckers. So, the team, what the coach needs to do is the coach needs to sit over here, and Curry needs to sit over here and find a greater mix of cycling in these young legs and these players that really want their opportunity, because Wiseman is sit over
Wiseman was probably, now you have to say, because he's in the doldrums in Detroit. It's like, how is he not the starting center? But but obviously we see that Durant is powerful there. But what you really have to say is, okay, they drafted him high, and that was their, let's say, their one major fuck up. Wiseman wasn't the guy, and I don't know who else was in that draft, but they needed to get somebody else other than him, because it put them back.
But before last year, before he had the personal issues, the dude was sitting over here getting it done.
Well, but he hasn't developed. So
he hasn't developed because of that hiccup. But he was good the year prior.
Sure, but when you say because of, and you say because of, and you say because of, well, guess what? That means your ass ain't that good. Bottom line.
Now, and so there's not enough on this team to elevate them into that level.
Moody has not stepped into the forefront, and we just got finished talking about Thompson. And yes, they have Looney, and yes, they have all of
Kuminga and all
them. But Kuminga is probably the biggest disappointment on the team, because Kuminga was supposed to be that dude, and he is average.
What it reminds me of is Laker-like, in terms of not just having enough ammunition to really compete with these teams that have some younger monsters that are ready to get it.
Yeah, but like every third game they could fuck around and be like, I'm gonna whoop your ass because Curry decides to go off.
Correct. But not enough for an 82-game season to really play at the highest levels in the league. But we were talking about these young people, man, and we've talked about Halliburton. You guys talked about Halliburton last week. The week before that, we talked about De'Aaron Fox. The week before that, we talked about Chet. The week before that, we talked about Wimby. There's some young, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's some young, up-and-coming talent. We talked about Ant-Man. There's some young monsters in the mix that are coming. But who we haven't talked about that we need to talk about that is deserving is SGA. I mean,
Shai Gilgeous.
Yes.
Alexander.
This boy is a stone cold monster. Canadian. Hey, to all my Canadians. Hey.
Man, the Clippers are crying a fucking sea of tears right now for letting his ass go. Now, granted, they got they got some good guys out of the deal. They got Paul George out of the deal, but
I would rather have SGA.
I'd rather have SGA. Mm-hmm. Real talk. So yeah, man, this dude, he's not a walking triple double because his game doesn't really like lend itself to like getting heavy rebounds. But what I will say is that he is a constant terror. He is always pressing.
He's top 5 in defense. He's top 5 in points.
Yeah.
So, yes.
So he's always pressing, and I think that he's understood the cadence of, I don't need to destroy you from 3. Let me murder you by death by a million cuts from 2, and you will always have to play defense on me. And then if you don't, and I'm a playmaker, I can dish too, and then I'm gonna D you up on the other end. And that, in that mix of them young lions, you know, I know you've heard them. I've heard you talk about OKC about them being young lions. Man, that dude he's a monster.
You know what I like about him? He's almost like a throwback. You mentioned an interesting thing that he doesn't have to sit over here and live and die by the 3-point line. Yeah, I remember we came up in an era where people shot threes, looked to be efficient with threes, but that wasn't the end all be all.
Yeah, they might have shot. Let's say in the 80s, in what people say is like the Shangri-La era. You know, they might have shot 5 to 6 a game, you know,
from team wide. From now individuals are, and obviously Curry affected that. But the thing is my man's from Canada, where you don't have the same effect. Curry didn't have the same effect worldwide because you see all these international players that still are playing old school, fundamental basketball. That it's not just about jacking up threes, and they've stayed within those parameters. And you see individuals that thrive and being right around the elbow and mastering the 2-point game, that those are the ones that are actually thriving in this new era as we transition out of the Curry era, that are thriving. And he is leading. He's one of the leaders of the pack. And this boy is a bad boy, averaging the 30 piece.
What it is right now.
and so, we've talked about a lot of guards, right?
Yeah.
But, I want to talk a little bit about some big men.
Oh, you want to go to the big men?
I want to go to the big men.
The versatile big man.
The versatile big men. So, Big Bam from Miami is having his best season. And I've never, I haven't always been a huge fan of him. I think they're players on that team. I think they're fans from that area that haven't been a big fan of him, because sometimes back in the day he had played a little soft sometimes. But I will tell you this: he's coming out gangbusters.
Oh yeah, Bam has game. All cap.
So my question is like, I've seen him go on these little runs this year in this short year, and we've seen Bam just go off. I mean, talking about just absolutely monster. And then so I'm looking at this and I'm like, is this dude sitting over here propelling himself to the AD level?
You're going to make me take a sip now.
You got to take a sip on that.
Oh, my goodness.
But then sometimes when I really dig deep into the numbers and really, really do some research and look at them and really compare them by the numbers, then I say, okay, well, AD is still performing at a high level, even though it doesn't look like it game to game. Or is Bam propelling himself to that level, or is AD taking a step back? He's kind of hit that threshold in his career.
That's a real good question. All right. So Anthony Davis, he eats off of the poor. Yeah, man. He will dominate guys who are, let's say, thinner, smaller by 1 or 2 inches.
He's a bully
by 5 to 10 pounds. But the minute that he finds somebody that is of equal size and or skill, he will shrink like a shrinking violet. And I have to say that now because he's given me enough evidence to say that's just what it is. Where I can say with Bam is more of a unique individual. Bam has more dribbling skills than Anthony Davis does,
which is crazy because that wasn't the case always.
Well, yeah, but the
He's
proof is in
his game.
The proof is in the pudding. Bam can take the ball off the glass and theoretically drive down the court, and yes, Anthony Davis does that as well. And they play a 5-out system to where they are asking Anthony Davis to drive And so that allows him to do that. But Bam still has a little bit of that old school in him, and he's intelligent with his shot decisions.
Mm-hmm.
He just says, guess what? I'm going to bang you if I need to bang you. If you're too hard, if it's going to take too much of a fatigue on me, then I will shoot these medium range jump shots and I will kill you with that. But I can get these rebounds and I'm going to do the traditional thing of box out and do all of that stuff. And I got my thug over here to roll with, so I don't have to do everything. But if you require me to, I will. The only thing that I will say is that Bam is probably like 6'9", so he's like a smallish 6'9", maybe 6'10", but I think he's really like 6'9", and
he has still got them young legs.
And he got those young legs, and he's somebody that you would say if a player is playing in their prime, he is showing that he's in his prime. Now, I don't know from an age perspective. I think that him and Anthony Davis might be seeming around the same age.
Bam's a little bit younger, but not much.
But not by much, right? So in theory, AD should be in his prime.
Around the same age, but still growing. Now, I will tell you this, man. But if you call me a shrinking violet, we would have to fight. So, AD.
Oh, I already know.
He might fuck you up when he sees you in these streets. That's absolutely out of control, calling the man a shrinking violet.
But he is a shrinking violet. And yes, you're probably right. If I saw him and I was over here having a steak dinner, the bruh might come over here and hit me with a spoon. I don't even know what that is, but that is offensive to me. Oh yeah, but listen, they have a game today, and I'll be interested to see after we have our show because they're playing Houston. But I will say that this week, they played Philly. That was a great opportunity for him to show and prove. He necessarily didn't have bad stats, but they got boo-bopped. And actually, I think he kind of shrunk in that game. Then
he shrinks in every game when he's playing against a person as big as him or bigger. You're 110% right with that.
Then there was OKC. We just talked about the Young Lions, right? They played them. They got boo-bopped in that game too. And he has not figured out, in my estimation, that these are the games that you're supposed to be stupid. You're supposed to go and have ridiculous
hard
numbers.
As a motherfucker.
And it's like, just because you had serviceable for a superstar numbers are not enough, because when everybody looks at the score, they say you lost by 20, you lost by 40, woo, woo, woo. So who gives a damn?
Right.
Who gives a damn?
Hey, you said that perfectly. I definitely agree with you. But it's funny. This season is young, and we're just crossing that quarter mark. 25% into the season.
Yeah,
and we've made some incorrect assumptions. As we've gotten up to this point. I remember in our very first episode we talked about Detroit possibly being an they won those first two.
Can we have a delete button on that? Because what in the hell was I talking about? Or you had me?
Yeah, both of us were talking about that.
What in the hell? Because they look like dog meat.
Right, but when you get into the quarter point, things start taking form. It might not be what it's going to look like at the end of the year, but at least the teams, people start getting into their actual rotations. People start really getting comfortable in their new offenses if they're new to the team, or if they're rookies. We got to see who the rookies that are going to actually be able to play consistently, versus the ones that are not quite ready. So a lot of things take place in the first quarter of the season. And so as we reach that point, I kind of want to talk a little bit about the two divisions and kind of hear what you got to talk about, or what your perception is of that. So, the first thing that I saw, coming off this first 25% is that the Celtics are head and shoulders. They're the creme de la creme of the East Coast Conference. So what are your thoughts on
I agree with you. I think that Boston, when you really look at them, you have to say that they are head and shoulders above everybody. And I don't necessarily know, even though let's say the Wolf tickets was that in the preseason or pre-prognostications, but I wasn't really sure if them bringing in the unicorn was going to be such a difference maker for them. But
do you think it was?
Now I have to say yes. I have to say,
really, Porzingis is that Is that a game changer for him?
It's not that Porzingis is such a game changer. Okay. It's the fact that the maturation of Tatum and Tatum being that leader and Brown and them re-signing Brown and that comfortability that they have between them.
They are playing a lot more comfortable.
And then they don't have any real weaknesses at any position. And so when you bring in a guy like Porzingis who can shoot the three but still play center, and then you have a backup center that is just as formidable. They just look like they're supposed to be the team in the finals. And I don't see, and if I was saying for a 7-game series, I don't see in a 7-game series that there is any team in the East that is going to beat them. It just looks like it's a foregone conclusion. Kind of like back in the day when it was like, okay, well, we're going to play these games for kicks and giggles, but we all know it's going to be Lakers and Celtics in the finals. And that's what they look like. They look like they have established themselves as the Celtics will be in the finals. Now, but the Lakers,
you know what's funny about the Celtics is every era or every generation, they always have a team that pops up, that cracks it, gets a championship or two, and then they go into a lull.
Yeah.
And I think this is the team that could possibly be that team.
Yeah. And they're hungry.
They're hungry.
They're hungry.
They want it.
Not hungry. I'm a little bit famished. No, I'm hungry.
Right. It's a little bit more than famished.
Yeah.
Now Philly, which, I was super excited about this team. Maxey was playing phenomenal. Obviously, their big man leading the league in scoring. I think they have some intangibles or some tangibles that could sit over here and propel them. But what's crazy is getting a quarter way through the season, they're only 4th in the standing. But when you really dig deeper into the numbers, they have the second highest
I really like
differential. And I think what we're finding is they're just losing some games on the wrong end of variance, and then it's going to regress back to the mean. I know that's not the
man, look at you and your fancy.
The fancy
regressing back to the mean.
They're going to get back to, forget about regressing, because regressing means you go, but that's kind of the
to the mean, to the middle.
They're going to get back to the mean, and so games that they lost by 1 or 2 points before, I don't think they'll lose, or they have a less likelihood of losing in the next three quarters of the season. That team is a great team, and when they're all healthy, when they're all playing together, I think they're going to be formidable in the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. So the addition by subtraction. So the biggest thing that we've seen with them is that by Harden leaving, obviously a Hall of Fame level talent that left that team, but it allowed the youth to come through, and it allowed Milton, guys like him, to have more of a presence. And I would say, listen, their center is playing at MVP level, but it's like guys like Harris and Nicholas Batum and
it's all the ones that got to roll up their sleeves to get on the court.
And I would say that at the end of the day, I think Philly is probably the only genuine, and I know that this sounds very dismissive to Milwaukee fans, and so I apologize ahead of time because I know it's Dame time and so on. But I think that one of those teams are going to either cancel themselves out. But right now in these early returns, I got to kind of lean on Philly. I actually think Philly is probably going to be the next real genuine threat to Boston.
We talk about the Pacers and their defense is going to be holding them back from winning the tournament. I think that defense is going to hold Milwaukee. You got to remember, last year, this is one of the top defensive teams in the league the last couple of years, and now they've got a new coach, and he tried to bring in his new own system, and I know the players have gone to him and say, that's not quite working, but they haven't quite got the defense working and clicking in a manner that's going to have them stop anybody when the game's on the line. So I agree with you wholeheartedly there.
Oh, well, look at us agreeing. Isn't that sweet?
now also, Orlando. And that's kind of like the elephant in the room. Orlando has
they're
not
the who in the hell team.
I can't remember really when Orlando's kind of been in the mix, but they've kind of elbowed their way.
Quietly.
And quietly. and gotten into that top 3.
They're number 2 right now, bro.
And the question is that do they have the staying power?
I want to say no, but they're in a perfect position to say that I'm a dummy and prove me and others like me wrong. I just, at the end of the day, Orlando they're a good team, and I think that they've established a rhythm with their team. You got the Wagner brothers, you got Banchero, you got Anthony, and you know what? They just know what they have to do to win.
It's like
and they're doing it.
Their young players are grimy.
Yeah.
You know, it's one thing to have top players that when your young players are grimy, that's a different type of energy that can last longer.
Yes. The only other thing I would add to that is that they're big. So they're physically just, most of their guys are 6'9" to 6'10" plus in all of their key positions. So they're a problem because they're just big.
Right.
And you know what? And then you got Suggs and Anthony there that can shoot. You know, they're a little streaky, but they can shoot. So who knows with them? At the end of the day, I don't think that they're gonna do anything. But they are number 2.
Right. They are number 2. And so what? You know, it's funny. This is going to be a conversation that we're going to need to readdress when we get to the halfway point and see if they're at least still within that top 4. Yeah. Now, the reality is because they are such a young team, they could drop completely down.
Yeah, they can. They can come back to earth.
They can come back to earth from the masses perspective.
Yeah.
But I will tell me something is halfway point when we get to the All-Star game, when we get to, late January, early February, and these cats are still playing at the same level. Hey, motherfuckers,
hey man, I need to rethink my notes.
Correct.
I might need to go ahead and say, yeah, I was believing in it all the time.
Right. I didn't just jump on this bandwagon.
I've been here. Goddamn.
No, let's talk about the West. The West is a completely different enigma than the East. The East, it's top heavy. You have teams that you're very confident about. You have a lot of teams that you don't know about, and you have a whole bunch of teams that you just absolutely have no possible way in our eyes at this point. On the West, though, you got a top 6 that's just like
the West is
any single one of them. I mean,
West is
who do we got? We got Minnesota. We got Denver. We got who's number 3? We got Minnesota, Denver.
Minnesota, Denver, and I want to say Dallas is
Dallas.
in there.
We got the Kings in there.
The Kings is up in there. Kings are a tweener. They might be like 6 or 7 on that.
Right, but we have Suns, and then we're missing one other person. I mean, one other team.
Sacramento.
OKC. No, OKC. OKC was the third one.
How dare we?
Right, or how dare us. So speaking of the OKC, so you have that top 6 that are just all. I believe any one of those teams, barring injury, can really fortify their rotation and can really get to that final.
Yes.
I mean, like, all of them can get in the playoffs and all of them got action.
Yeah.
And it's just who's healthiest, who's the luckiest, who's sitting over here playing at the peaks of their powers at that specific time. And boom, you look up and any one of those 6 are in the finals. So, talk to me a little bit about the West.
Okay, so we talked about the 6 and we're going to talk about those are the 6 right now. But then we have to say the Lakers, the Pelicans, those guys are also like, maybe they might be 7 and 8 right now, but the separation is like a game, right? So this just speaks to how ridiculous the West is. I just think that it's so formidable, and just in terms of we say we throw that word parity around, but it's really real. There's only really 2, let's say, obvious teams to me, anyway. On
the West?
On the West, there's only 2 obvious teams. It's Denver, the defending champions, and then I think I would have to probably say, based on record alone, Minnesota.
Okay.
Everybody else is kind of looking in, and we don't know where we're going to be. I would love to throw the Lakers in there, but the Lakers haven't proven it.
Well, Lakers aren't even in the top 6. I'm talking about OKC. These are young monsters.
OKC. So yes, they are, and they are establishing themselves similar to what we even just said about Orlando, right? To me, it's kind of like OKC and Sacramento and dare I even say New Orleans, to me, mentally, because of the youth that they have on their teams, that those are the teams, even though, let's say, the Lakers and New Orleans have the same record, but we're crossing hairs, we're quibbling over, one game here, one game there, that the rotation could change. But the reality is that those teams are kind of like still pushing forth. And then you have to say Phoenix is in there, but Phoenix is a little bit injury prone.
So a few things about Phoenix. One is Phoenix, we haven't even seen their big 3 play.
No, and I think, where the hell is Bradley?
I agree, but here's what the twist is. When that big 3 has the opportunity to come together, we don't even know what that looks like. No. They can take off and it can be stupid. Or Bradley can come in and fuck up the dichotomy and the whole energy of their team and make it plummet.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the wild card right there. OKC, the question is, like you said, they're like Orlando.
Yeah.
Where will they be another 20
games in?
Some games from now?
I definitely think that they will be in the top 6. I don't think that they're leaving it.
They have a great fucking team.
Yeah, when you talk about Chet, when you talk about guys that are, let's say, lower on their totem pool, Dort, Giddey.
And this is a young team that's just getting better each and every single time. But the real question is of the top 6, right? We like that top 6. Which one of the 3 teams that are hovering just below that, the Lakers, the Clippers, and the Pelicans, which one of those 3 teams can possibly break through? If somebody gets caught slipping, somebody gets an injury, somebody sits over and a team loses focus, which one of those 3 teams can sit over here and break through?
Okay, so you're going to make me put on my G. Damas hat. Let me get at all that information and let me look into the future, right?
Please.
I think it's going to be the Lakers. But there's a part of me, and I'm not saying that emotionally. I think logically, I think it will be the Lakers that will pierce through. The Lakers have a lot of flaws, but what I would say is that a good 1A to that, and yes, I'm going to go ahead and hedge it. I would say the Pelicans, because the only thing that really is hurting the Pelicans is that they are hurt. They can't stay healthy to save their damn lives. And maybe you can say the same thing for the
Pelicans.
Lakers.
I don't see that changing.
But yes, but when you look at if Ingram can stay there and be that guy, they just got a couple of forwards back. They're just good. They just don't have any weaknesses. So it's like, if they can all be healthy and go on a stretch, that they're probably going to be that team.
Now, I don't see the Pelicans being able to do that. I don't think the Lakers have enough firepower. But for me, it would be the Clippers that have an opportunity to sit over here and right their ship.
And maybe I'm a hater because I think the Clippers are clappers. But
I know we've discussed that many times.
But on paper, yes, the Clippers have enough.
So does this have a team that maybe not 20 games from now, but 40 games from now get everything in place to be able to make a last big push in the final 20, 25 games?
Clippers could
sit over here and get them into that top 6 when injury or youngness takes away another one of those teams in the top 6.
I would just say time will tell, but you're right. And I don't think that there is it's not silly to say the Clippers, because the Clippers have enough talent to do it. It's just they're the Clippers. And that to me is like the thing. And what I mean by that and try to articulate is that they always find a way to disappoint. Now, the thing is that the Clippers have the 4 LA boys, right? They got Westbrook, they got Harden, they got Paul George, and they got Kawhi. And if they decide that we're going to be like Voltron and be like, what's Saeed? And we're gonna unite, right. and we're gonna like be like, this is almost like a high school tournament. Like we're just gonna be like, look, West Coast guards are better than all of y'all.
Hey, but the motherfuckers are getting old.
Yeah, so I don't know if they're gonna do that.
I wouldn't bet on it.
Right.
But I do say that if the Lakers don't sit over and make some type of trade before the trade deadline, I just don't think the Pelicans. This is their first year of kind of being professionals totally as a team and coming together. So I think that'll take a little bit of time. I think we have a group of individuals that none of them have titles except Kawhi. I think all of them are really hungry for it, and I do think that they understand that they don't have much time. So if they're going to do it, if they're going to get into this tournament and really put themselves in a position to win it, I think this is the year to do it. And I think either they do it this year,
especially before they get in that new arena.
Oh
man,
I think this is the year that they're going to be able to do it. I don't think next year is going to be like they need this year to make it happen or to come together, and then next year is like the year for them. I think this is the year that they're going to come together towards the tail end of the year to sit over and get into the big tournament and just get on a hot streak and go. If they can't do that, then blow this motherfucker up and let's start all the way over as we go into this new arena.
Right.
Now, you know, it's so funny. You have these old motherfuckers with the Clippers that sit over here and get in this new arena. I wish we had a team like OKC that is young, that could sit over here because these are young Lions and they're not going anywhere. No. This is the one team that I am pretty confident because of SGA that we've talked about, because of Chet that we're about to talk about and we've talked about in the past, that they have the components, they have the firepower to be special, not just for this year, but for the foreseeable future.
Yes, because they are young.
Because they are young, and it would be absolutely phenomenal if they would be able to be going into an arena like we're about to have here in Los Angeles that the Clippers are about to play in. That Ballmer said over here in this.
Oh man, Ballmer said, "I will give $1 billion." He just wants one ring.
He just wants one. He'd be one ring and happy as pig.
Oh my God, happy as a lark.
And I wish that was the team that was going in there, a nice young team. We have a nice older team, and that's why I'm saying if we can sit over and get one ring out of these old fogies, and then blow the shit up, and then sit over here and develop a nice young team with this new arena that's coming up, I think that would be the deal. But here's where the reality is.
Go ahead. Give me the Debbie Downer.
The one last big question that we have for the first quarter of the season is, as we've seen two versatile, which we talked about earlier in the season, versatile big men with Chet and Wimby after 25% of the season gone, and we've gotten an opportunity to see them play, basically 20 games.
Okay.
Who do you got long term?
All right. So if I'm understanding you correctly, you were talking about Chet Holmgren and you're talking about Wemby?
Big Wemby.
Wemby.
Yes.
The new unicorn on the prow.
Yeah, hey, so don't delay. Who do you got?
All right, gun to my head.
Gun to your head.
Chet Holmgren.
Oh my God.
I know, and I know that's gonna be like. I feel like it's almost like a record screech. You're like, what? Say what now? Yes, I have Chet Holmgren because I think that Wemby is phenomenal, but he's a little too light in the ass for me.
Okay.
Even though Chet Holmgren is also light in the ass.
Light.
But Chet, just the cadence and the rhythm in which he plays, he shows me a little bit more grit. Where I see with Wemby, he kind of reminds me of a Laker that I'll bring up. And I know I don't want to always bring it back to a Laker, but he reminds me of Reeves is that he looks a little unsure sometimes. Like sometimes I'm going to go and I'm going to be real aggressive, and then other times I'm going to be playmaking, and then did I forget that I was 7 foot, 7 foot, and I can just do a whole bunch of things easy. It's like where Chet, you have none of that. Chet is like, look, bro. Look, you might whip my ass and you might be bigger than me, but I'm gonna give you this business, and I can shoot from the outside, I can go inside, I can make, I can dribble, I can do whoop, and I am going to, even if I lose this game, you're gonna leave. If we in a fight,
you're gonna know me.
Yeah, you're gonna leave with a couple of cuts on your face.
So let me ask you this: how old is Chet?
Chet is what? I don't know. 21 maybe.
21, right?
21.
And how many points is he averaging?
I don't know the points average, but I know it's at least anywhere between, let's say, 19 to 20.
He's averaging 19, right?
Is he averaging 19?
At 21, he's averaging 19. So, and he's a rookie. So it's like, goddamn, rookie averaging 19 points.
Yeah.
At only 21 years of age.
But a meaningful 19.
A meaningful. So let me ask you this. How old is Wemby?
How old is Wemby? Is he, see now this is like, riddle me this, Batman. Golly gee willikers.
I'm going to riddle you some shit. So how old is Wemby? Wemby is 19 years old.
Oh, right? Okay. Well, thank you for that.
Okay, so let me ask you this. How many points is Wemby averaging? You know?
I don't know. Anywhere between 15 to 17.
He's averaging 17 points.
17. See, look. Okay. Why you ask? It's a rhetorical
It's a rhetorical question. So let me ask you this.
This motherfucker.
What was Chet doing at 19?
Oh, I don't know. He was probably in college.
He was in college playing in Gonzaga. Hey, have you ever been to Gonzaga?
See, I know where this is going.
Have you ever been to Gonzaga? I've been there. It's a small little baby town, and they play in the WCC conference. I used to play in that conference. They play in the WCC conference, and he was, he was tearing that motherfucker up, right? And that was at 19 years old. Where's Wimby at 19 again?
He's in the league.
He's in the league, right? Averaging 17. Where the fuck will Wemby be at in 2 years when he's 21 years of age?
Well,
will he be averaging over 19 points?
Okay. Yeah, he probably will be.
He's gonna be a
he
monster.
Probably will be because we know he is the not only is he the straw, he is the straw that drain. He's the liquor. He is the ice. He is everything in San Antonio. So yeah, I think it's fair to say he's going to average more.
So this is just what I'm saying. They are on I believe, a 14-game losing streak or something like that.
Yeah, because they're
a tough team.
Yeah,
and so he's gotten lost in the mix. But what I will tell you is long term, this is a 19-year-old motherfucker averaging 17 points a game in 2 years. They can't do anything with him. Chet, I take nothing from him.
Okay.
He's a bad motherfucker. But
you heard it here first in America.
But 700
that's what
days.
TA thinks it's gonna be Wimby.
And you, GMoney, think it's gonna be Chet.
I do. And
guess what? 2 years from now, we're gonna be on this show and I'm gonna say, see, I told you, motherfucker.
And I'm gonna be like, eat all the humble pie.
You will eat that humble pie. But with that being said, I appreciate you, brother. We had some fun today.
Yeah, we did, man.
Thanks for all of you coming in here and being with us. All of our very newest individuals that have come in and come watch this or come listen to us. I appreciate you. Do not forget to download, subscribe. Be with us again next week because we're going to still bring you this unbelievable content. We're going to still talk this shit. We're going to still talk this unbelievable game that we all love in terms of NBA. And we appreciate you always.
Oh, man. Look, you got more to drink in your glass, man.
Whoa. I'm on my second drink. You still babysitting.
Oh, am I? Well, let me catch up.
Catch up there. Okay. Get to catch up now. See y'all soon.
All right.
ATB in the house. NBA at the bar. Thank you very much.
We did it, baby.